Molten steel screams as it hits the mold, birthing the skeleton of a predator destined to haunt the cold gray skies above the Eastern Front. Every spark flying in this dark foundry represents a future explosion as we hammer raw elements into the unstoppable will of a defending nation. We don't just shape metal here, we forge vengeance from the heat, pouring liquid fire into frames that will carry heavy payloads to the enemy. The alloy cools, hardening into a shell tough enough to survive the shrapnel and chaos, a silent guardian rising from the ashes of industry. Hydraulic arms seize the glowing chassis with the iron grips, moving with a robotic precision that mimics the deadly accuracy these machines will soon possess. From the chaotic heats of the forge, we move to the cold, calculating logic of the mill, where raw strength meets absolute mathematical perfection. Diamond-tipped cutters scream against the hardened casing, shaving off microns of excess weight to ensure this bird flies true through the thickest smoke. There is no room for error in this chamber because a single millimeter off means the difference between a successful strike and a wasted run. We carve the ribs of this beast from solid blocks, creating a lattice structure that is light as a feather but strong as a tank. Grinders roar to life, sending showers of golden sparks cascading down the leather aprons of men who work tirelessly to build the ultimate weapon. Every motor mount is bored to microscopic tolerances, ensuring the rotors spin without vibration, keeping the camera steady when the target is finally locked. Deep inside the belly of the machine, we hollow out the cavities where the brain and the heart of this hunter-killer will soon reside. The surface is blasted with sand and grit, stripping away the shine to leave a matte finish that vanishes against the dark tree lines. A welder inspects the seams through dark glass, looking for fractures in the armor, knowing that gravity is a cruel mistress to the weak. The CNC machines hum a low, menacing tune, working around the clock to churn out parts faster than the enemy can find places to hide. Now the scattered bones of the drone are gathered on the heavy benches, waiting for the skilled hands that will give them the breath of life. Soldering irons replace the welding torches, fusing copper veins into the circuit boards, creating the nervous system that reacts faster than a human blink. We drop the power cells into the chassis like loading a chamber, giving this mechanical bird the energy to scream across the horizon at dawn. High-gain antennas are bolted onto the frame, the ears that will listen for commands through the jamming static of the most intense electronic warfare. Finally, the carbon blades are attached to the rotors, sharp as knives and ready to slice through the air with a terrifying high-pitched buzz. The glass eye is set into the gimbal, a cold, unblinking lens that will stare down death from 1,000 feet up in the air. Miles of copper wire are woven through the frame, pulsing with data that tells this machine exactly when to drop its payload on the target. We slam the battery hatch shut, sealing the power source inside a waterproof casing that can handle the mud, the snow, and the blood. The release servo is tested again and again, a simple mechanical finger that holds the power to change the map with a single click. Here we bolt the armored cowling over the sensitive electronics, shielding the brain of the beast from the harsh reality of the modern battlefield environment. Power surges through the system for the first time, waking the sleeping giant as the motors twitch and hum with a hungry electric potential. Codes are flashed onto the drive, teaching the drone how to hunt, how to fly, and how to survive where no human soldier could. Gyroscopes are calibrated on a vibrating table, ensuring that even in a hurricane, this predator remains perfectly still before it delivers the final blow. A gloved hand runs over the fuselage, feeling for burrs or imperfections that could cause drag when this thing is diving at terminal velocity. We stencil the serial number onto the dark gray plastic, giving a name to the nightmare that will soon be haunting the enemy trenches. The assembly line stops here and the testing cage opens its maw, ready to push these machines to the absolute breaking point of failure. Giant industrial fans roar to life, blasting the drone with hurricane winds to see if it has the guts to hold its ground steady. We freeze the frame to sub-zero temperatures, simulating the bitter winter nights where the engines must ignite instantly or the mission fails completely. Shocks are applied to the landing gear, proving that a rough landing on frozen dirt won't shatter the fragile bones of this flying assassin. The lights go out and the thermal camera flicks on, turning the pitch-black room into a glowing canvas of targets waiting to burn. We blast the receiver with heavy interference, making sure the signal cuts through the noise like a hot knife through a block of butter. A dummy munition is loaded and locked, testing the grip of the claw that will carry the weight of justice to the front lines. Oil and grease are wiped away, leaving only the dull, menacing finish of a tool built for one specific and very violent purpose. Row after row, they sit on the rack, a silent squadron of identical soldiers waiting for the command to rise and fight the war. The testing phase is done and the survivors are cleared for duty, stamped with approval and ready to meet their new masters in the field. The safety cage locks down as the rotors spin up to full RPM, a deafening scream that echoes off the concrete walls of the factory. It defies gravity with a sudden lurch, hovering in the stagnant air like a demonic hummingbird waiting for the flower of an enemy tank. The operator slams the stick, sending the drone into a violent roll, testing the structural integrity against the G-forces of a combat evasion maneuver. We simulate the drop, a precise release mechanism snapping open to let a dummy warhead fall dead center onto the painted cross on the floor. Electronic noise floods the chamber, trying to blind the machine, but the frequency hopping algorithm dances through the chaos to keep the video feed alive. We run the motors until they are hot to the touch, ensuring the heat sinks, can bleed off the temperature without melting the plastic core. The gimbal tracks a moving target, locking onto the heat signature with a ruthless focus that will not break until the battery runs dry. If the link is cut, the drone automatically climbs, seeking the signal, refusing to go down without a fight in the dead zone. This is the crucible where the weak are culled, because a malfunction out there means a soldier pays the price with his own life. It touches down on the skid plates, the whine of the engines dying out, leaving a smell of ozone and hot metal in the air. A green tag is slapped on the cowl, the mark of a survivor that has proven it is ready to hunt in the real world. Now the leather aprons move in to crate the beast, folding the arms back against the body to make it small for transport. Rough-hewn wooden crates are lined with foam, a soft coffin for a deadly weapon that will wake up in a trench on the front lines. Spare blades and batteries are tucked into the sides, the extra ammo this machine needs to stay in the fight day after bloody day. The lid is hammered shut with heavy blows, nails biting into the wood to seal the fate of whatever poor soul this drone finds. Crates are stacked high on the pallets, a tower of dormant violence waiting for the truck that will carry them to the edge of war. We are not just building one, we are building thousands, a swarm that will blot out the sun and rain hell on the invaders. The grinding never stops in the background, a constant reminder that for every one we pack, 2 more are already moving down the assembly line. Sweat drips onto the packing list, a personal signature from the men and women who build the shield that protects their homes from destruction. Forklifts groan under the weight of the shipment, moving the arsenal towards the loading dock, where the cold night air waits to receive them. The steel forks lift the heavy pallet, carrying the weight of a dozen flying nightmares towards the bay door, where the truck engine idles. A driver waits in the shadows, smoking a cigarette, ready to drive through the gauntlet of shelling to deliver these packages to the boys. Behind him, the factory floor doesn't stop the rhythm of the presses beating like a war drum that refuses to ever go silent tonight. As the finished crates go out the back, raw aluminum ingots come in the front, feeding the insatiable hunger of the war machine inside. The air is thick with the smell of ozone and burning flux, the perfume of resistance that clings to every worker in this hall. We pack the controllers next to the drones, the joysticks that will soon be the only thing connecting a pilot to his distant kill. There are no manuals in these boxes, just pure intuition and lethal capability packed into a frame that any soldier can learn in minutes. Rain lashes against the loading dock, soaking the wood, but inside the waterproof plastic, the electronics sleep soundly dry and ready for the wake-up. It is a wall of wood and nails, a fortress of supplies that represents the lifeline for the units digging into the frozen earth. Muscles ache and eyes burn from the welding arcs, but no one slows down because they know the price of a delay is death. Here it is loud and bright, but soon these machines will operate in the silence and the dark hunting where no one can see. The screech of packing tape rips through the air, sealing the final layer of protection over the delicate sensors that guide the missile home. Black ink stamps the destination code on the side, a grid reference that points straight to the hottest sectors of the entire combat zone. We count them by the 100, but out there they count them by the targets destroyed, a grim arithmetic that balances the war effort. The mounting brackets are universal, ready to accept a grenade, a mortar shell, or an RPG warhead, whatever is on hand to destroy armor. Some of these birds will return home to fly again, but many are on a one-way trip to deliver a message to the invaders. These brushless motors are small giants capable of lifting 3 times their weight, defying physics to drag heavy explosives right over the enemy trench. The clipboard is signed off. The manifest is checked twice, ensuring that not a single screw or propeller is missing from the critical shipment. The truck engine roars, blowing black smoke as it prepares to haul this heavy cargo of retribution down the cratered roads to the east. The bay doors roll down with a crash, sealing the warmth inside, but the work continues as the night shift gears up for more. In the corner, a bank of printers hums, laying down hot plastic layer by layer to build the fins that steer the bombs. We adapt the designs every single night, changing the shape of the frame to outsmart the jamming frequencies that try to knock us down. The air is thick with the acrid smoke of solder as we fuse the flight controllers to the speed controllers in a permanent bond. These video transmitters are the eyes of the suicide pilot, sending a grainy analog signal that will be the last thing the tank sees. We build them cheap and we build them fast because this specific breed of drone is born to die in a ball of fire. Carbon fiber dust floats in the light beams as we cut the arms, a material that is lighter than aluminum but stronger than steel. There is a rhythm to the madness here, a heavy industrial beat of pneumatic presses stamping out the parts for the next big wave. Coffee turns cold in the mugs on the workbench, forgotten by men who are too focused on the mission to stop for a break. We bundle the wires with zip ties, keeping the internals clean so nothing snags when the drone is pulling hard turns at maximum speed. The mounting straps are tested for strength because the payload must stay secure until the exact split second the operator decides to let go. Reports come back from the front lines, and we change the tooling, immediately evolving the weapon faster than the enemy can develop a shield. Copper wire is wound tight around the statters, creating the electromagnetic muscle that will lift a heavy mortar shell straight up into the clouds. If a blade is off by a fraction of a gram, the vibration will blur the video feed, so we balance them with care. It is not enough to build one perfect machine, we must build a swarm of them to overwhelm the air defense systems with numbers. This rack holds the one-way tickets the interceptors designed to chase down enemy helicopters and trade their plastic lives for a high-value target. Hot plastic shoots into the steel dies at high pressure, forming the protective shells that keep the rain off the sensitive flight control boards. We spot weld the nickel strips to the lithium cells, building the massive battery packs that provide the juice for long-range deep strikes. The benches are covered in flux and wire clippings, the messy altar where we sacrifice our sleep to ensure the infantry has air support. Static fuzz clears up on the monitor as we tune the video transmitter, revealing the sharp image of the factory floor through the lens. The shift boss yells over the noise of the grinders pushing the team to finish the quota before the sun rises over the city. The crates are piled high like a wall of ammunition, representing the iron will of a people who refuse to bow down to tyrants. Every screw turned in this factory tightens the noose around the enemy, squeezing their supply lines until they have nowhere left to run or hide. The hum of the CNC machine here is the lullaby before the storm, a prelude to the thunder these birds will unleash on the battlefield. Robotic arms move in a blur of motion, picking and placing components with a speed that no human hand could ever hope to match today. They stand in formation on the polished concrete floor, a legion of mechanical soldiers that do not bleed, do not sleep, and do not fear. We cut the foam inserts with hot wires, creating a snug cradle that keeps the delicate optics safe during the rough ride to the trenches. There is a spiritual bond between the welder in this shop and the pilot in the dugout, connected by the steel frame of this drone. The lights flicker, but they never go out because the war does not stop for sleep, and neither does the production line in this foundry. Another pallet is wrapped in plastic, shrinking the cargo tight so it can survive the rain and the mud on the back of the truck. You can hear the phantom buzz of propellers in your head even when the machines are off, a sound that signals death to the invaders. We take the raw earth of this country, melt it down, and forge it into a sword that strikes back at those who tread here. The quality control stamp is the final seal of approval. A promise that this machine will fly straight and true when the button is pushed. Big bombers and small kamikazes share the same bench brothers in arms, built from the same pile of scrap metal and high-tech circuit boards. As the sun begins to rise, the next shift walks through the door, ready to take the hammer and keep the sparks flying all day. Taillights fade into the morning mist, carrying the deadly cargo away, but the furnace is already roaring to melt steel for the next batch. This is not just a factory, it is the heartbeat of the resistance, pumping iron blood into the veins of the defense force every hour. Components arrive from all over the world to meet here, assembled by local hands into a weapon that defends the sovereignty of the local soil. There is no quota high enough to satisfy the demand, so we push the machines past the red line until the bearings scream in protest. It is a simple tool with a complex purpose, a flying camera that carries the wrath of a nation directly to the doorstep of the enemy. The factory floor vibrates with power, a constant reminder that as long as we have steel and will, the sky will belong to us forever.